So, welcome everybody to our ongoing study of the Unity Correspondence course. We are still in chapter lesson 6, the Great Demonstration. So let's settle in. Let's prepare ourselves for another fun thrill ride through Unity thought and through our own individual consciousness shared with each other. Let's settle in. Let our awareness focus on how we're feeling. Notice the temperature in the room. Notice how our clothes are fitting on our body. Notice whatever thoughts might be flitting through our minds. Jesus Christ is here now, lifting me to his consciousness. Jesus Christ is here now, lifting me to his consciousness. Let's say that together. Jesus Christ is here now, lifting me to his consciousness. And in that awareness, I'm going to invite Lillian to share, as she does so well every Sunday, today's daily word.
And the daily word is healing. Healing. Take good care of myself supports my healing. Sometimes it's hard to say no to friends, family, work, church, or volunteer organizations I care about and want to serve. But when I am overextended and depleted, I don't do my best, and I may put emotional, physical, or mental health at risk. Taking on too much and saying yes to every request may be a sign there is something deeper within me that is out of alignment and in need of healing. Perhaps I am feeling fear of judgment or a reluctance to disappoint someone. I heal when I slow down, pray, and welcome God's grace. I treat myself gently and make time for relaxation a priority. Secure in divine love, I know when to say yes, or for my well-being, to kindly but confidently say no, not this time. And from Psalm 103, bless the Lord, O my soul, and do not forget all his benefits, who forgives all your iniquity, who heals all your diseases.
Thanks, Lillian.
You're welcome.
Taking good care of myself supports my healing. Let's affirm that together.
Taking good care of myself supports my healing.
Yeah. Okay, before we continue on to the text today, any reflections from last week? Last week let me put the text up here. Give me a second here, friends, as I maneuver the technology. So last week we completed paragraph 22 here. We were on the section, what is the Christ righteousness? So before we move on, any reflections, thoughts, ideas, concerns, questions?
Well, I don't know if this is exactly to the reading, because I tried to catch up with you after last week. And I read this and it did sort of resonate to me about what happened to me. But I was gone last week on Sunday because I went with my two children to an outing in Cape Cod, which is near where we live. And I had set this up weeks ago I had moved heaven and earth to get those two busy people in the same place at the same time to do this outing with me. And I felt very guided and directed to make it happen. As it got closer and closer, I got more and more fearful about their relationship with each other and with me now in the middle in a car with the two of them. And I didn't want to go. And I really wanted to cancel. And I prayed and I prayed and I thought, I was not getting permission to cancel. We did it. We got there and I literally walked for over a mile. I haven't walked 20 feet in quite a while. And we started walking along the canal and then onto the beach. And they kept saying, "Do you want to go back? Do you want to go back?" And I said, "No, I'm okay. I said, I've got something happening through me, some energy that's happening. I can do this. I feel okay." And I really saw the cause and effect of following that inner guidance that is about what's right and not what you want or what I want or what I think is going to happen. And I still am talking about it to my friends and saying they know the area, and I'll say, "I walked from here to there." And they said, "Did you sit down? Did you have to rest?" I said, "I did not." And I turned around and walked back. And so it was a miracle. And to me, it was a miracle in direct answer to the fact that I pushed through the fear of doing it. My children got along very well. We had great conversation when we went out to eat. I ate. They both were astounded that I was eating a meal and finishing it. And it was a wonderful, blessed, gifted day. So I wanted to share it and just say these things do happen. I don't know. It's not just on God's timing. And it has not been repeated. I tried to do it on Monday, not, in my area. And I was pretty much on regular target. It was a one-time gift for that day. And I'm grateful. Done.
Wow.
Wow.
So I have just a little reflection on what I heard you say, if it's okay.
Oh, sure.
Okay. But what I heard you say, it was a one-time gift, and I would offer you to consider you don't know that.
Okay.
And if you affirm one time, then it may be that's the only time you'll ever get.
Okay.
So the faith, the inner work that you're doing has lasting effects.
You're right, Marty. And what it did do, I was so grateful, and I promised that I would at least try to go out every day. And if I can't do what I used to do, it's no shame on me. It's just getting the coat on and going outside and walking as far as I can with knowing I need to turn around and go back. And I promised that I would do it every day. And I did it, even when it was raining and I had the umbrella. And even when I didn't want to, I said, no, I promised. So I may be saying it seemed like a one-time event to go that far, but I have added a commitment to do something every day. And I'll do it today after this meeting's over. So you're right. I have to not forget that. It's a work in progress.
Yeah. You don't have to. I mean, God takes us the way we are, but it might be a powerful choice.
Yep.
Thank you, and that's awesome. And you have always shown up for me as somebody very awesome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other thoughts, reflections, comments on either what Janet just shared, if you want, or the readings from last week, or anything?
Actually, I have one kind of piggybacking on Janet's. It didn't involve walking. It was actually bicycling down in San Diego. I was probably late 20s and got clipped by a vehicle leaving a parking lot. me and the bike went flying. Two cars behind stopped, so I was totally protected, and I slid on the ground on my back, and it was almost like a slip and slide. I didn't tear the t-shirt. Actually, I had no dirt from the ground or anything. The bike didn't do as well, but me, I was perfectly fine. Almost like don't fly faster than your angels.
Oh,
It was like something was in between the road and me.
wow.
Were you in a spiritual frame of mind when you had that accident? Did you know that it was God protecting you?
At the time, no. I can't say I was really in a spiritual, kind of unconsciously, maybe I was. But I can't really say I was spiritual in that sense, where it's not like I was doing a lot spiritually at that time.
See, that says a lot to me, and I really loved hearing that because it's here for everybody. You know, it's here whether you know it or you don't know it. And the telling this story to all my senior buddies, I say you have no idea what you're capable of in terms of what God wants to share with you. And so stop whining and complaining about what you can't do and just wait. I mean, it's great. I mean, it's anything is possible. If I could do that, and now Kevin's story, completely protected for, getting hit by a car, flying off the bicycle. I can picture it. And I expect you to be covered in blood and God knows what else, broken leg, everything. Nothing. You were protected. And when we're not protected and something does happen, which has happened to me a lot, things happen and I think, oh, what is this now? They all are for a reason. Always, always. Nothing has happened to me that I cannot directly connect to what happened in a year after that or 2 years. It's all part of a whole. And until I found this group and the Fillmore people, I had never known other people that sort of thought this same way. And it's been a real joy to me.
If we read for some reason my blue highlighter isn't working, but if we read the third sentence of the 22nd paragraph, it says, "This Christ righteousness is not based on personal merit, but it is a heritage that is ours as sons or children of God." So what you were just saying, Janet, it's ours whether we're aware of it or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
Thanks, Kevin.
Problem.
Anything else before we move on? Who would like to read paragraph 23 for us? Now, just to read whoever reads, would you read the last sentence of paragraph 22 to just set up paragraph 23?
I'll try. I'm out of practice, so I'll try. So
Thank you.
start with Christ is truth.
Yeah.
Christ is truth, and righteousness is the functioning of truth in the mind of man. The first appearance of the adversary is recorded in Genesis under the figure of a serpent, which was, quote, more subtle than any beast of the field which Jehovah God had made. Genesis 3:1. The serpent represents the quality in the human consciousness that ignorantly takes of the good of God and uses it for ignorant, selfish, unlawful, or sensuous purposes. The serpent told Eve a lie in the very beginning, and she believed him instead of Jehovah God. Jehovah God had told Adam and Eve that the result of disobedience would be death. But the serpent said, "Ye shall not surely die." That's Genesis 3:4. The life force working out the divine command to be fruitful and multiply, Genesis 1:22, reproduces the body form. But when man is not fully enlightened, He does it only in a separate organism instead of reforming and renewing the cells within his own body as divine wisdom directs. Man is thus reproducing only limited concepts of himself, the physical man, instead of going further and reproducing in himself a consciousness of what God is, the immortal or spiritual man, the Christ.
Thanks, Janet. Thoughts? Reflections? Questions?
I have a question, Marty. When it says going further and reproducing in himself a consciousness of what God is, does that need to precede believing that you're not just dealing with your physical self? I have so many people ask me to pray for healing for them of their this or that or the other thing. And these are people that really are not very spiritual at all and just want to get better. And do you need to have faith and maybe not a lot of knowledge, but at least have a lot of faith in order for these things to happen, like the chicken and the egg thing? What comes first?
Yeah, that's a great question. What do we think? We have a group of practitioners here. What do you gals and guys hear, and how would you respond to that question?
I would say it would depend on how open they are. Do they believe that they can be healed? Or are they closed-minded and think that they have to go to a doctor and get some pill or operation? If they have faith that it can be done without that, then yeah, the prayer could possibly work. Otherwise, no, but you don't know that for sure.
You know what, Kevin? They believe it because they've watched me and seen my life and know me. And I've triggered a lot of questions about faith in people. But I'm not a teacher, and I'm not a preacher or a teacher. And I
says who?
well, says me.
Okay.
I think that because they saw the miracles that I've been through with these brain injuries and rising up from death, that they know that something's happening somewhere. And why not ask Janet to pray for me? It's kind of it's just it's sort of a faith thing, but it's not their own faith thing. It's not their own inner knowing and their Christ consciousness. I don't have a lot of friends that are working with Christ consciousness and really believe this. This is why I love you all so much, because they are people that they think differently. They think, I don't know. But I know when I always tell them I don't pray for outcomes. I am not asking God to heal your sciatica. It isn't happening. I'm going to ask God to give you what you need and what you want, even if you don't know you want it. Because that's where I think a lot of it is, we think we have to know what we're asking for in order to get it, and we don't. We just need to be asking for the highest and the best to do God's will. And so there's something about that paragraph, though, that made me think I was misinformed. Or
Yeah, Leo.
I would add to that, Janet. Look at Emily Cady's Lesson in Truth, because she is there addressing faith, and faith as how you say that, blind faith, and I think they call it understanding faith. I'm not sure anymore because I just read it recently, but it's really good stuff. And I just put a link in one of the talks from Emily in the chat. But Emily K. Lesson in Truth is all about faith. Very advisable, recommendable. I mean,
Yes,
thank
it's a wonderful teaching. It's great stuff.
Thanks, Leo. Anybody else?
I
Dylan.
love, I love the greeting namaste, which I translate to mean I behold the Christ in you. And I think when your friends ask you to pray for them, whether or not you actually say that to them, the intent of that is what they need.
Yeah.
Thanks, Della. Anybody else?
Sixth question, which is begins the last half
Sorry.
of our chapter.
So I have a couple of observations. Number one, we can't not believe. Faith is actually a fundamental process of human consciousness. We believe everything. Everything is faith. And so the capacity to reproduce on ourselves a consciousness of what God is, as opposed to the limited concepts of ourselves, as it says in those last sentences, is just becomes a function of consciousness. What am I aware of? Or what am I committing myself to become aware of? And so I thought it was instructive, Janet, that you said, or I heard you say, that your friends they see what you've accomplished and they believe in the possibility. And that the word believe is the same as the word have faith. And so it starts with faith. They wouldn't bother asking you for your prayers if they didn't have some kind of faith about it. Unless they're just into a fad, but that doesn't sound like what the situation is. So that's just one thing to consider. Then the other thing is that in the parable of the mustard seed, faith can start as something as small as a little mustard seed.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes time to grow. I did a podcast earlier this week in my other world of intentional living with my friend Dan, and we were talking about recovery in the form of, in the sense that we mean that in AA. And he said, referring to the movie The Matrix, the red pill or the blue pill, the red pill is the recovery pill. And he said, when I took the red pill, when he started his recovery journey, he said, they didn't tell me it's a time release capsule.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I interpret that as, everything in its time. It is possible to have the red pill and have it just completely 100% change your life in the moment. That happened to St. Paul on the road to Damascus. Blinding light, fall off horse, Christian. But for most of us, it's a time release capsule. Other thoughts? Okay, who will read 24?
I will.
Thank you, Della.
The lie that the Adam man is immortal and does not die because of sin became incorporated into the race consciousness. Many men are still believing that although they sin, they are by nature immortal and will not lose the physical body through their sin. When the Christ idea of life is quickened in man and he lays hold of it, when he enters into the Christ consciousness, when he directs the life force in obedience to divine law, thus conserving it indefinitely, then and then only does man prove his claim to eternal life.
Thanks, Della. That's a pretty bold claim in that paragraph. Thoughts, comments? Yeah, Leo.
Uh, it sometimes look in these lessons from Charles that there is only an upward movement, like you can grow into Christ awareness. Don't you think it's possible to have a downward movement too, losing consciousness?
Yeah, I think I lose consciousness half the time every day. So I think your question, so I interpret your question as an experiential question. The experience of losing higher consciousness, which I think in my life experience happens most of the time.
But if you
And
go,
and
yeah,
I have the power to recall that I've lost the consciousness and restore it by just paying attention. And it just reminds me of that old Buddhist statement, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Before enlightenment, lose consciousness. After enlightenment, lose consciousness. Well, what do you think?
I think that happens every day with us.
Yeah, it's like it's just our that we've talked about this before, but psychological research demonstrates that up to 99% of the mind is in the subconscious realm. So by definition, there's all kinds of stuff within me of which I cannot be conscious. Just because of the apparatus, the way that we're created, we can only be conscious of a certain amount. What we're asked for here, the Christ consciousness, I don't think is the same as simple awareness. I think it's a much more profound state that we can be in, even if our simple consciousness or simple awareness isn't aware of it in the moment. That's a bold claim. What do you guys think? What do the rest of us think?
You can only do the best you can.
Yeah. And I can enhance that best by blessing it, acknowledging it, claiming it, lifting it up to the Christ consciousness like we did when we started today's meeting. Anything else? Okay. Let me, my screen is frozen, so I'm going to get out of the share screen and come back into it. Uh-oh. Reincarnation and resurrection. Who will read paragraph 25?
I will.
Go for
Okay,
it.
for me. This is a subject near and dear to my heart, so I'm happy to explore it more.
All right. Thank
What
you.
is reincarnation? What purpose does it have in the experience of man? The deceiver deludes man with the thought that death does not come by sin, but comes because it is the will of God, or the course of nature, or the inevitable. Let us not allow ourselves to be robbed of life by any of these delusions. God is life, and it is his will that all his children should have life abundantly. If they have not realized their privilege or have not succeeded in demonstrating life, the loving Father has provided opportunity for them to try again in a new body vehicle. Through this new embodiment opportunity, is given to express and manifest man's inherent perfection in accordance with divine wisdom. This is called reincarnation.
And would you read the next paragraph, Diane? As long
Uh,
as you're on a roll.
yes, I will.
Thank you.
Yes, I will. When man understands the plan and purpose of life, he begins to exercise his mastery over all limitations. He consciously forms his own body vehicle, a spiritual creation, an image of the divine ideal. In its true state, the body is the embodiment of all the laws of the universe.
Thanks, Diane.
Yeah.
There's a few more bold claims there. What do we think? What do we hear?
Well, I have always heard from Charles Fillmore's writings that reincarnation is possible, but not necessary to one's spiritual journey. If you choose to do so, it is an opportunity to learn a lesson you need to know, or it's an opportunity to teach a lesson that you have to share, but it's not mandatory to keep coming back. But there are those of us who, including myself, I have some memories of previous lives. And I won't say anything more than that about it because I know it's kind of controversial. But it's a powerful opportunity rather than a necessity. And I think personally, I have availed myself of that several times.
Oh,
Anyway, I'd love to hear what the rest of you think.
Well, thank you for that, Diane. Yeah, other people, other folks? Yeah, Leo.
26, consciously forming his own body vehicle. Wow, that's quite a statement. I think that will take me another 100 incarnations to get there.
Not 99?
Could be, yeah, could be. Close call. No, but just getting to free your body from all the dualistic stuff, that is already for me a big effort, and I'm trying to get there. And even I spent the last 40 years to do that. There is no end in sight, so I'll just go on per day.
Thank you, Leo. Anybody else?
Well, I want to tell Diane I'm with her 100%. This is so absolutely non-negotiable. No, it's such a huge part of this present life and ones that preceded it. And I often say, oh yeah, I'm done. This is my last time. But you don't know, right? And I think that if you're gifted to get a belief in this, and I do think it's a gift because it's a stretch, it opens up so much information about why things are difficult and why things come so naturally. They can all be absolutely pinned to a lifetime in the past. And I'll tell you that I was told that this was the first lifetime ever, zillions of years has been going on, that I was a mother, and that my challenges with being a mom did not happen by accident. I absolutely requested that I need to try to do this. And I also know that the polio I had at age 4, I brought it with me. And that's why I think I was so supported in the hospital with the spiritual guidance and the company, the spiritual company, because I knew it was coming and I knew it came for a reason. And now over a lifetime, I absolutely know all of what that was about and what that was needed to be brought into this lifetime. It all works, it all connects, and it's very controversial. And I'm careful who I talk to about it because people go, oh, she's really crazy. It's not, I speak with absolute 150% sureness that it's true. And just if you don't like it, keep an open mind, because something in it for all of us.
Thanks. Thanks.
I often think that maybe when we have a need to resolve something from a previous life, then the opportunity presents itself for that to be resolved this time. It's the purpose of a lesson, an opportunity to resolve things in our soul. Why not? With God, all things are possible. And I think this would be a snap for him to do to help us along our spiritual path. And we were all created in the womb, and we came forth in a physical form that didn't exist currently, and then became current because we chose to come at this time for a purpose with how can I say it? God has given us an opportunity and perhaps a reason to come back. Okay, we didn't make such and such an evolution in our spiritual journey last time. Here's your chance to see it this way, so that now you can continue on your pathway. It just seems kind of natural to me that this could happen.
Me too.
Great. Well, that makes two of us, Janet.
I find myself wondering, with all this discussion about us coming back, when was the very first soul created so that we could then implant into a human body? In other words, is there a beginning of the soul, or is it always there? And how does all of this separate and come back and forth?
Well, do you have a hypothesis? Or you genuinely don't have any idea?
No, I generally have no idea, but
Okay.
but if we look at all the things that develop and come back, I mean, you can look at somebody's invention, and the first time it shows up on the planet, that's a first time for it. But this then goes back a deeper discussion into what did actually form the universe. What was the very first element that could blow up and form the universe? There's a lot to think about.
I think it is an unanswerable question. I mean, the Bible tries to point out that the beginning of humankind is who? Adam and Eve. And when exactly was that, and who was that? And are we all descendants of that in the physical from them? Kind of hard to grasp, I think. I have a feeling that souls have been around forever, and that beyond the concept of my mind to grasp is the thought that souls have always been, are, and always will be. It's a whole different concept of time, which I don't think matters to God. Time is irrelevant to God. He's always in the process of being and becoming and doing. That's kind of my take on it.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah. For me, it looks a bit like when we are conceived, you say that? We start as a little cell in the womb of a woman, and then that cell splits and splits and splits and splits and splits. And I think there is a saying, as above, so below, and as below, so above. And I believe that God is a unity that has split itself up. And each of us is a spark of the totalness, the allness. So God split itself, and we are sharing this experience.
Okay, thanks, Leo. How about any of the silent people? Any thoughts? Lillian says no. I love honesty.
just finished an interesting book. Good morning, friends.
Hey,
I just
Claudia.
finished an interesting book called All the Way to the River. It's by Elizabeth Gilbert, and you might know her from Eat, Pray, Love. But she talks about very eloquently, I thought, reincarnation in this book, and she talks about it as the Earth School. And, I think some of us have read along the way, and I'm not sure, which writer, was it Emmett Fox, was it Fillmore, was it Myrtle, whoever, it doesn't really matter, but about how the soul, why would we expect our soul to only with one lifetime that might span a month to 100 years to get all the knowledge that it needs, the experience that it needs to grow. And so that's their basis for believing in reincarnation, that it's the soul's journey to come back and experience different things. And then, we advance like we did kindergarten all the way up to high school. So she does a really beautiful job of explaining that concept by using the Earth School. I thought it was interesting because she's not particularly metaphysical, but she certainly writes it very articulately. So I really liked the example of the Earth School, which is what we're here now doing.
Great. Thank you, Claudia.
Okay, so I'm in a group that I love, that I've been in since I was maybe 20, called Search for God. And in there, huge amount of stuff that's connected to this. They absolutely believe that the soul was here way before Adam and Eve, and that Adam and Eve the human body was created and all its troubles. But before that, there was a lot going on. And it goes back like zillions, so much a time that there isn't even a number for. It's in Genesis, the world was created, but then from that moment in time, which nobody knows what, exactly when that was, lot was happening on the earth plane, as what Claudia just said about it being a school. And I loved it when I was 20. I still love it. I never have lost my sureness about all of it and why we're here and what we're about. It's very Christian centered because the original person starting all this was a Bible teacher and a Christian, but it also is very esoteric. It's different than the metaphysical world of Fillmore because it's not about good or bad, or doesn't have as much, I don't know, it's just more esoteric. But I buy it, and it's because I bought it from when I first started. My mother gave me a membership to this organization when I was 16, and she obviously taught me a lot more than I remember or realize she did teach me. But I started with them. So now I'm almost 75, and I've been reading the stuff and listening to the talks. And it's a fascinating other way of looking at your time here on Earth that's very different from fundamental Christianity. And again, it's another subject. I'm careful who I talk to about it. But our souls are like, they're really wanting us to get it right. Every lifetime we're here, and we bring the same soul with us, and it grows in its soulness and less in personality. And if we were all sitting around drinking tea and eating cookies, I'm sure Diane could share with me stories of her lifetimes, and they're fascinating because they really do they come into this lifetime that we're living, and things that we're very bad at or very good at or everything in between. So we meet every Tuesday, and then they do a Bible study on Wednesday, but it's different. It's nothing like Fillmore Bible work. It's different. But I love it.
Thanks, Janet. Let's read the 27, because I think 27 will shine a light on the questions raised in 25 and 26. Who would read 27 for us?
I'll take it on, Leo. Excuse me. You're Marty. He's Leo. Yeah, okay.
All right.
Thus we see that the goal of man is not reincarnation, but resurrection. I'm having trouble seeing this. Arising again, thank you, Leo. Excuse me, Marty. Thank you. Let me pick up where we're. The resumption of vigor, the raising of the whole man, spirit, soul, body into the Christ consciousness of righteousness and life. There is first the divine center, the creative idea, then an unfolding or expression of the divine faculties of the soul, that it may be a true temple of the Holy Spirit, then a vehicle for the manifestation of all God qualities, the body of man.
Thanks, Veldon.
Thank you.
Okay, so after all this talk about reincarnation, it says, but that's not the goal. The goal is resurrection. And then it tries to explain what it means by resurrection. Are you satisfied with the explanation here? A rising again, a resumption of vigor, the raising of the whole man, spirit, soul, body into the Christ consciousness of righteousness and life. How does that grid with reincarnation, or at least the ideas of reincarnation that have been presented here? Yeah, Leo.
Yeah. I think both are intertwined. I'd say it's like a small wave, reincarnations, and what here is called resurrection. I would call it a raising of awareness to a next level. And on that next level, the same thing will happen again and will be raised again. And I know it's not much of a Fillmore idea, but I believe this state where we are in will be followed by a next state where we again will go to many life experiences and then again come to a higher level of being. Thank you.
You remind me of the work of those guys that developed the idea of spiral dynamics.
Oh, interesting.
That sounds complicated, Marty. What does it mean?
Well, no, it's a spiral. So we understand things at this, and then we grow to the next level, and we repeat at a higher level the same activities of life. So the spiraling up. The idea these guys came up with is we're spiraling up toward unity consciousness.
There is an analogy with the atom. I took a lot down to a model of the atom and the electrons, but it is now known that they relate and that electrons have a certain level where they are harmonious. And then there is a next level where they are harmonious again. And in between there is a gap. And these, what they call electrons, have to jump to that other level. There is no gradual growing into that. And I believe our lives are like that. So what people call resurrection is that jump to the other level. But before we can do that, we have to establish what is to be learned on this level.
Well, and if I could extend your analogy even further, quantum mechanics suggests that atoms atoms are not discrete elements. They're actually continuous elements that started 13.9 billion years ago, which parallels the notion of infinite life, because every atom in our cells has been around for 13.9 billion years since the Big Bang. Going back to Veldon's question, like, when did all this stuff start?
Yeah. Well, how
At
do you
least
know?
on this plane of dimensionality, our faith is that this plane of dimensionality is a manifestation of a divine idea that has no dimensionality.
What? Say that again.
Me too.
Well, the everything in I think going back to the very first lesson, everything starts as an idea in the mind of God. And that idea has no physical form. And its manifestation in physical form is the idea put into three-dimensional space, actually four-dimensional space. And so, as Mark Hicks likes to say, the Trinity in unity is mind-idea expression. So where in physical space is divine mind? Well, maybe that's not the right question. The question Unity asks is, how is space and time a reflection of an idea in the mind of God?
Well, I'll give it some thought and I'll try to give you all the answer next week.
Thank you,
Good,
Eric
Belden.
Butterworth.
I think it's a tiny speck. That what we see, our universe is just a tiny speck in the totality.
Well, and the other thing is that everything I've just said is an invitation to play in a conceptual world. That is, in a world of thoughts and ideas. But God is more than a thought. And we've talked about this before. We can't think our way to God. And so that's part of, sometimes we get caught in the trap. Emily Cady talks about this in her chapter on thinking in Lessons in Truth. We can read all the books, we can study all the testimony, we can read all the lessons and the Unity Correspondence course, and it still doesn't necessarily lead us to that Christ consciousness. That's an inner job that we have all been graced with the desire to undertake. But it's not a thought. But on the other hand, we're just at that point in our evolution as a species where this is the way we talk to each other. This is the way we communicate about God, is through talking and ideas. And when people ask, hold on one second, Della. When people ask, thank you. When people ask Janet, for example, to pray for them, that expectation is beyond an idea. They're expecting something that cannot be reduced to an idea or a thought. Yeah, go ahead, Della.
This is sort of changing the subject, so we can come back to what you were talking about. But when I was raising my now 33-year-old son, there's a series of books called Your 2-year-old, Your 3-year-old, Your 4-year-old. And, there are those moments when you think, what's going on? And I'd get the book and I'd read it. And at the beginning of every book, there's an introductory session about the spiral that sort of has this diagram of a spiral that, they said every month, and I thought it was every 6 weeks. But as the child develops, there's this process happening in them where there's kind of imbalance and then there's balance. And as a parent, you experience that with the ease of trying to deal with them on a daily basis. And sometimes they're just fussy for weeks. And I always came back to that spiral and thought, okay, we're just in the disconnected place of that spiral. And aren't all of us? You don't have to be 2 years old to be on the downside, on the weird side of a spiral.
Well said.
And you have to not get scared. You have to not feel like I'm failing. I'm not doing this right. I mean, I was such a self-flagellating person in my 20s, and I just couldn't accept that it was just up and down, like you said. It goes up, it goes down. There's gaps. I get it so easily now, but I surely didn't get it back then. And it's it's such an important thing for the older people to share that it's really not like the right and wrong, you're bad, you're good. What's that, dual thinking? It's like, no, it's just do the best you can today. And that's why I live in little 24-hour blocks, because it needs to it ends or starts at midnight, and it'll end or start tonight at midnight. And in this 24 hours, I'm trying to do the best I can. And it's way easier than thinking globally or thinking long term or thinking about the past or the future. It's just thinking about what's for lunch. And it just makes everything easier for me.
It makes a good night's sleep kind of a resurrection.
Absolutely. You're dreaming and you're processing whatever was learned new the day before. And then sometimes they're pretty wise, and I write them down. Other times I think, oh, that was crazy. But it's a process. We're floating. I never understood that idea that you could just feel like you're floating through your day, doing the best you can. And that's all you have to do. Maybe that's why I was able to walk so much on the beach last weekend, because I had no expectations, and I had there was no Janet personality push. I'm going to show these kids that I'm okay. It was very much, and I felt my angels beside me. Some of the ways I almost fell once just because I tripped over some stupid thing on the beach. And I didn't. And I thought, okay, thank you. Like you feel them right next to you, and you know that you're guided and protected. And it's enough to keep me trying.
Just being in the flow.
In the flow.
And that speaks to why Emmett Fox says that we have to die. Not what Jana said about the angels, but what we're talking about getting set in our ways, our personality taking over. And Emmett Fox says that that's why reincarnation needs to be, because just like we can't let go of some of the things that have happened in our own lives over whatever number of years, and it formulates our, as Janet just said, personality. When we terminate the physical body and renew with a new body and new personality, our individuality is still moving on. So, whether it's the analogy of the dream and sleep and restore that I think Della brought up, or the reincarnation that Diane was talking about at the very beginning, that's the do-over. That's the learn it, leave it, do-over.
Yeah.
But on an upward
On that upward
motion.
spiral. Yeah.
Yeah. Closer to permanent Christ consciousness. That's the way I understand it.
So I like the spiral analogy. I've never heard of that before, Marty. Or Della, I read those books, but that's not what I got out of it. So thank you for that, because I will keep that in. I always used to think of it as going up a mountain, and how when you're going up a mountain and you have switchbacks and you never know, like, am I above that person? Because the way the illusion of the mountain is, you don't know if that person also on the mountain is ahead of you on the path or behind you on the path, because you're going up the mountain. And it really shouldn't matter, I know, if they're ahead of me or behind me, because it's my trail and my walk up the mountain. But That's how I always thought of it, is making your way up the mountain.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you, Claudia. And but our time is up, and I want to thank everybody, as always, for participating in my spiritual growth and journey. And let's close out with our prayer for protection, as we always do. Together, the light
Light of God surrounds
God
us.
surrounds us.
the love
The love
of God
of God
enfolds us,
enfolds
God
us.
enfolds
The
us.
power
the
of
power
God
of God
Power of God
protects us,
protects us.
Protects
the
us.
presence of
presence of
Presence
God
of
God
God
watches
watches
over
over
us.
us.
Watches over us.
Wherever we
Wherever
are,
we are,
Wherever we are.
God is,
God
God
is,
is.
and
and
all
all
is
is
well.
is
well.
well.
Is well.